Well, good evening. It is just about 4 minutes past 8 o'clock on your Sunday night, and that means it's time for 3 hours of blues and soul music from the Juke Joint. My name is Robert Barclay.
I went to high school in Los Angeles. LA brings the top people, so I got to see Jimi Hendrix several times. I got to see Janis Joplin. I got to see the Doors. I got to see the Rolling Stones. But I go see the Stones in 1969. I was 19 years old, and I'm looking at all these long-haired photographers. It was just seeing all these guys behind the amps, in front of the stage, backstage. I didn't get a camera until I was 22, and I was fumbling for what I was going to major in. And once I started photographing, one thing led to another, and I started getting photo passes and getting backstage sometimes and having the chance to meet the artists. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could get paid to do this? And eventually that's what happened. And I knew working for a university would be cool. So I'm reading this magazine called Editor and Publisher. And it said, in the want ads, it said, photographer wanted at Central Michigan University, Mount Pleasant, Michigan, to do alumni, sports. So I called the office. I said, oh, I'm a photographer, and I saw the ad in the magazine. Oh, okay, what kind of background do you have? Well, I was USC's photographer. You were USC's photographer and you want to come here? When we moved to Mount Pleasant, I decided to buy an acoustic guitar and take guitar lessons. Well, my guitar teacher, he goes, well, I do a folk music show at CMU Public Radio called Homespun. Would you like to come on the air and play some of your favorite records? He said, are you really? On the radio? On a real radio? Wow, that would be really cool. So he invited me in to do that, and I did that with every other Saturday night. Then I started listening to a show called Only Blues. It was Saturday or Sunday night at 6 p.m. A guy named Peter Ashoff came out from KUNI out of Cedar Falls, Iowa. And in between songs, he'd tell you a little bit of interesting history about who he was going to play next. And I thought, God, this is really cool. And then he stopped doing the show. And I said to John Scheffler, this is about 1984, I said, you know, we really need a blues show to replace Peter Ashoff's show. And he goes, yeah, I'll think about it. And then I'd nag him a little. After a few months, I'd say, hey, John, we really need to do a blues show. Oh, okay. Record me a 1-hour demo. And he talked about it with Ray Ford, who was the program director. And they decided, they both loved the blues. They said, well, let's give Robert a shot at that. So on Sunday night at 8 o'clock for 1 hour in April 1985, I came on and did my 1-hour show.
You're listening to the best blues and soul music at the Juke Joint with the Duke of Juke, Robert Barclay, on CMU Public Radio. Catch it. It's bad.
I started getting postcards in the mail or letters written on notebook paper and torn out. He said, hey, I love your blues show, but come on, 1 hour? We need, longer. That was April 85. By October, we made 2 hours of it. And then by 1988, we turned it into a 3-hour show.
All right, that was Buddy Woods on a track titled Don't Sell It, Don't Give It Away, playing a little bit of slide guitar on that track.
My show is the first 100 years of blues recordings, the first 100 years of recordings in general. I didn't play the same old stuff. Acoustic blues of the 1920s and 30s, electric blues from the 1940s onward.
But here is Freddie Slack in 1940, Down the Road of Peace.
The blues began to evolve into soul music in the 1950s with people like Ray Charles, in the 1960s with Aretha Franklin. So I decided I'm going to do blues and soul music.
Let's get back to some more music. He produced a series called Roots and Blues, and I didn't get promo copies of any of these records. I went out and bought them just like you do.
I look for songs that tell a story. The songs tell a story, and then I look for stories to tell about the song and about the artist.
for us folk and blues fans. The cool thing about Mississippi John Hurt, after he recorded these 1928 recordings, he disappeared. But the cool part is somebody came across him in Mississippi, in Avalon, Mississippi, because he did a song called the Avalon Blues.
The first interview I ever did was 1986. A man named Brownie McGee.
You got a heck of a memory.
I was born to remember.
That's where the interviews all started. I decided to make some arrangements to interview other artists. Luther Allison, James Brown, Chuck Leavell, Gatemouth Brown, Wilson Pickett, John Hammond, B.B. King. Occasionally they say, oh, I've told that story so many times. But this is radio. I want you to tell the story in your voice. When you talk about one of your influences, I'll put a record on of that artist who inspired you.
First record that I remember listening to on the radio that really stuck to my ribs like red beans and rice was a song by an older blues singer by the name of Memphis Minnie.
Oh, I know what song that is.
She did this song called Me and My Chauffeur Blues. And the flip side was Black Rat Blues. You remember that?
Oh, yes. You is one black rat.
Yeah, you is one black rat. Dun, dun. Someday I'ma find your trail. Yes, I'ma hide my shoes somewhere near your shirt tail.
Well, ever since I was a teenager in the 1960s, I was usually the kid that had the latest records. And people, hey, let's go over to Barclay's house. He's got the coolest records. And this is the Juke Joint on Sunday nights for the last 38 years. That's kind of an extension of me being a teenager. Any of my friends from high school, if they lived in Michigan, they would say, Barclay's still spinning those records. That's so cool.
Well, that's little Walter behind me, letting me know it's time to close the doors of the Juke Joint. I'll be back in this spot with another 3 hours of the blues next Sunday night. And until then, this is Robert Barclay, and I'll see ya on the flip side.
You know, at the Juke Joint, you hear everything with Robert Barclay on CMU. That's public radio. Stay tuned. They're playing good music. They're going to play some more.